work to get done, and so we're going to try and work through this together and see if we can make it. Okay, the video is kind of important. Otherwise, Unsalty Master Dave does not make sense in the context of this sermon. Okay, so let's get started. The first term I want to teach you is called theological anthropology. Say that with me. Theological anthropology. What does that mean? Very good question. Theological anthropology. It's the way we understand God and ourselves in relation to God. Okay? So there are a couple ways of looking at this. For example, a negative theological anthropology would be this. Human beings are kind of broken and busted from the moment we're born. We are faulty and in need of God. And so we need God to come and save us from all of that. And that's how we understand humanity in a negative theological anthropology. You tracking? It's working. Yes. Oh, this is good. Okay, so now for the positive theological anthropology. So positive theological anthropology, are we good?
Taking back to slide 1, yeah.
Perfect. Wait. There we go. Theological anthropology. That's what we're talking about. So positive theological anthropology sees people and creation as good, as profoundly beautiful creations. Okay? The United Church has this statement of faith. It's called the Song of Faith. And in it, this is how it describes creation and humanity. Each part of creation reveals unique aspects of God, the Creator, who is both in creation and beyond it. All parts of creation, animate and inanimate, are related. Listen to this. All creation is good. And so we sing of the Creator who made humans to live and move and have their being in God. Creator who made human beings to live and move and have their being in God. Human beings aren't busted. We're not broken from the time we're born. We are beautiful, wonderful creations. The question is, do we always live up to this? And the answer would be no. So, I brought a balloon. So, us living up to our full potential is like this balloon. This balloon is designed to be bright and beautiful and full of air. So we would tie a knot in this and we would decorate a room with this and have a birthday party, right? That's what balloons do. This balloon has kind of reached its full potential. Okay? You tracking? Okay? Now, this balloon, as it is right now, has not reached its full potential. Okay? Right? It is not as big and as bright and as beautiful as it can be. We probably would not tie a knot in this and decorate a room with it. Right? Because that's not what this does. We're talking about the 7 deadly sins throughout Lent. And really, the 7 deadly sins all take us from being what we could be, this kind of full inflated balloon in this case, to something less than that. Okay? So today we're talking about the sin of apathy, of sloth, of discouragement. I'm going to kind of group those all into one. So to illustrate this, I found a movie, and I'm so excited to show you this. Do we have any Star Wars fans in the audience? Be honest. How many of you have seen Star Wars at least? Okay. None of the band has? Yeah, absolutely. Excellent. Okay. So, the context... one important thing before we get there. This ties in with the children's time. So when we are full, when we are that big balloon there, Jesus says, "You are the salt of the earth." But if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? And later on, "You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden." When we are operating at our full potential as human beings, and I'm not talking full potential as earning the most money we can or having the most power we can, but potential to love freely and offer mercy and give grace. When we are operating at that, we bring salt to the earth. We bring life and flavor. But what happens when we aren't salty? And here's where the video comes in. Consider this a private view into the home of a Jedi Knight. Okay? His name is Dave, Master Dave. And needless to say, Dave is not feeling very salty.
Space station attacked by covert Sith operatives today, the sixth of such attacks this month. More than 20 civilians were killed and dozens were injured in what has been declared as the most heinous act of terrorism in the history of the world. Chancellor Modine of the Republic Council was on the scene only minutes after the attack, where he called out directly to the Jedi Council, demanding an answer for their apparent inability to prevent these kinds of tragedies. Reported earlier this month, the Jedi Council has set forth with an initiative they refer to as the Purge, wherein hundreds of Jedi expelled from the order. Comments from many of the leaders of the Jedi Council indicate that their desire for such a purge was, quote, laziness and lack of faith, which was disturbing. This is taken officially removed from duty in Coruscant. This has found it to rise up and strike at the heart of the Republic. We've reached out to the Jedi Council during this crisis, but as of yet, they have remained silent on the topic.
I know you're thinking, how is he going to tie that in? So Master Dave is unsalty, or if Yoda were saying it, unsalty he is. And you probably didn't catch it. Somebody thought that was funny. That's good. There's this radio playing in the background. I'm not sure if you heard it. And so I'm going to read it for you. Okay? This is what the radio announcer is saying as Master Dave is pouring cereal with the Force. Okay? It seems that yet another core space station has been attacked by covert Sith operatives. This is the sixth such attack this month. More than 20 civilians were killed, dozens more injured in what is being called the most heinous attack of terrorism in the history of the galaxy. The Jedi Council has put forth an initiative they call the Purge, where hundreds of Jedi may be expelled from the Order. Comments from many of the Jedi Council indicate that the reason for such a purge was, quote, laziness and lack of faith, which is disturbing. So, Master Dave is in a galaxy full of terrorism, and he is a powerful man, and yet he is only using the Force to hand feed him cereal in the morning. Now, before we go any further, I just want to make one important caveat. I believe there are times in our life when we probably feel like Master Dave. If you have a newborn or have ever had a newborn and they wake up every 2 hours to feed, you probably want the Force to hand feed you cereal in the morning. But we're talking something greater than that. something chronic, something where we kind of let the world's problems pass us by. Poverty? Doesn't really matter. Environmental damage? Doesn't really matter. So how do we go about changing apathy? Being less apathetic and more productive. What do we do about that? One of my favorite bands in the world is called Mumford & Sons. And Mumford & Sons has this song called I Gave You All. And in that song, there's this amazing line, and it's been a line at the forefront of my mind for probably a year now. And this is it. If only I had an enemy bigger than my apathy, I would have won. If only I had an enemy bigger than my apathy, I would have won. So what Mumford & Sons is saying is, when our apathy is heavier than our enemies, it takes over. It wins. So we have one of two solutions. One is that we reduce the size of our apathy. So I could tell you, don't be apathetic. But that wouldn't really help. So instead, I propose that we make our enemies a little more weighty. Something happens to make the enemies bigger than the apathy. So how do we do that? I think we do that by naming our enemies. So let me give you an idea of what I mean. There's a story in the New Testament. Jesus walks into a town, and there's a big crowd of people, and one of the guys in the town, he's a fairly short man, he's up in a tree so that he can get a look of Jesus. And everyone in the crowd knows that the man in the tree is a tax collector. He's labeled a tax collector. Because people who don't have names or faces or families, you can just label them. You don't have to deal with them. You don't have to talk with them. You don't have to know them. But Jesus comes into the town. He looks at the man and he says, Zacchaeus. He gives the man a name. Jesus gives people names. Because when we give people names, we have no choice but to help them, to be with them, to be in community with them. Another example of this would be 12-step programs. The very first step in a 12-step program is you name it. You say, I have a problem with alcohol. I have a problem with narcotics. You name that. Because when you name it, then you can begin dealing with it. People who have organizations based around alleviating poverty are masters at this. What do you do with a stat that says 3 billion people in this world live on less than $2 a day? What does that mean? So what people who have these organizations do is they take a picture. They give it a name. They give it a family. They give it a face. And all of a sudden, the apathy seems less important than the enemy of poverty. We name things. This is exactly why propaganda campaigns work, is because we take all of that away. We call it rats, vermin, etc. A good example would be medicine. When something is wrong with somebody, we just want to name it. We want to know what is going on, because when we know what is going on, we can deal with it, right? If you've ever known somebody who's going through tests, they just want a name for it. Is it cancer? Because if you know it's cancer, you know what the future holds. You know what treatments, how long you have. You name it. When you name it, you deal with it. So our unsalty Master Dave has to go on a quest to name his enemy. In his case, It might look like meeting the people who had families affected by that act of terror on the radio. And when you meet those people, when you realize how they've been affected, then you can deal with them. And we too, as individuals, but also as communities of faith, must go and name our enemies too. Are you struggling with depression? Are you having a problem getting going in the morning? Are you feeling like you're losing faith? Let's name that together. What are those for you? I want to end with one final point. Sometimes all the naming of our apathy, all our attempts to get better, to be more productive, to feel more alive, don't work. So what do we do with that? When nothing seems to work? Remember that term at the beginning? How we understand how we are as people of faith? That balloon analogy? Nothing changes that. No matter how apathetic you feel, no matter how lazy you feel, nothing changes the fact that you are an incredible, beautiful human being made to live and move and to have their being in God. Nothing changes that. Amen.